I couldn't stop staring at the ring. His ring. My husband's ring. It was still on my finger, gleaming, mocking, digging into my skin like a curse I couldn't take off. The sheets beneath me were still warm, tangled with guilt and sweat. And beside me, Liam. His best friend. His groomsman. His goddamn best man. He was asleep. Peaceful. Like what we did hadn't just broken something sacred. I got up, legs trembling, pulling his shirt over my body, the same shirt he wore the night he toasted our marriage. My stomach turned. It wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't even supposed to be like this. But I kept thinking about how Liam looked at me at the wedding, how he lingered just a second too long during our first dance. How my husband, James, kept missing those seconds, missing me. A part of me wanted to run. The other part wanted to stay, to be wanted, for once. To feel something real again. Even if it was wrong. I touched the ring again. Still there. Still his. Still mine. That was the first night I realized love doesn't always die, sometimes, it just shifts shape. Into something darker. Before I tell you what happened next, make sure you're alone. Because what I did after that night will change the way you look at marriage forever. When James and I got married, people said we looked like the perfect couple. I believed them for a while, believed that matching Instagram smiles and Sunday brunches meant something deeper. But behind the filtered photos and perfectly rehearsed laughs was a woman screaming to be seen. And James? He stopped seeing me the second the honeymoon ended. He didn't cheat. He didn't hit. He just disappeared in plain sight, always busy, always tired, always somewhere else. I'd sit across from him at dinner, trying to talk about my day, my work, the pain in my chest that kept tightening every night, but he'd nod, swipe through emails, and tell me I was being too emotional. I started feeling like background noise in my own marriage. And then there was Liam. Liam was loud where James was quiet. Wild, impulsive, sarcastic, the kind of guy who'd show up late to dinner but make everyone laugh until they cried. I used to think he was obnoxious. Then I noticed the way he looked at me when James didn't. The way he'd refill my wine glass before I asked. The way he listened when I said I felt invisible, and didn't laugh it off. It started with long stares. That kind of eye contact you hold a second too long. One night, James had passed out on the couch, drunk off some networking event. Liam had stayed over, as usual, crashing in the guest room. I found myself in the kitchen at 2 a.m., nursing a glass of water, when Liam walked in shirtless, rubbing his eyes. "You okay?" he asked, voice low, still half asleep. "I'm fine," I said too quickly. He didn't push. Just leaned against the counter, arms crossed, and said, "You don't have to pretend around me." That broke something in me. I think I cried, I don't even remember the exact words. Just that I told him everything. That James hadn't touched me in 3 months. That I'd stopped recognizing the woman I was becoming. That I felt like I was vanishing. He didn't try to fix it. He just stood there. Present. Solid. And when he hugged me, a real hug, full-bodied and warm, I didn't pull away. His skin smelled like pine and whiskey. His hands were calloused and strong. We didn't kiss that night. But something started. Something unspoken. A fracture in the wall I'd been holding up for too long. The next few weeks were a blur of almosts. Brushing hands when passing the wine. Laughing too hard at inside jokes. That one time we went to grab something from the garage and I stood a little too close. He looked at my lips like he wanted to say something, or do something, but didn't. I told myself I was imagining it. Until the cabin trip. James had planned a weekend away with his college friends, including Liam. Last minute, he asked if I wanted to come too. "It'll be fun," he said, without looking up from his phone. "Everyone's bringing their wives." So I went. Maybe out of spite. Maybe to pretend we were still trying. But by the time we arrived at that quiet, snowy cabin upstate, I could feel the tension between Liam and me pulsing like a second heartbeat. The first night, there was wine. Too much of it. Cards Against Humanity, half-drunk confessions, people peeling off to their rooms one by one. James had already passed out upstairs by the time I found myself alone on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, staring into the woods. "You always look like you're somewhere else," Liam said, stepping outside. "Maybe I am," I replied. He sat beside me. Close. Too close. Our knees touched. Neither of us moved. "Why do you stay?" he asked after a long silence. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The next moment stretched out like forever. His fingers grazed mine. My breath hitched. I knew what was about to happen. I could have stopped it. But I didn't. The kiss was slow. Careful. Like we were both waiting for someone to yank us apart, for a thunderclap or siren to scream that this was wrong. But nothing came. Just snow falling around us like a blessing we didn't deserve. His lips were warm. Soft. He kissed me like I was something fragile, something precious. And I hated how much I needed it. The guilt didn't hit me right away. Not that night. That night, all I felt was relief, like I had been underwater for years and someone finally pulled me up. I didn't go back to the bedroom I shared with James. I sat on that porch for what felt like hours, my fingers still tingling, my heart thudding against my ribs like it was trying to escape. The next morning, I avoided Liam. We both did what guilty people do, pretended nothing happened. He barely made eye contact. James, oblivious as ever, was nursing a hangover and cracking jokes about how he needed to stop mixing whiskey with beer. But something had changed. I knew it. Liam knew it. When we got home, things between James and me got quieter. Not in a peaceful way. In a dead way. We were like roommates who couldn't even remember why they signed the lease. He stopped asking how my day was. I stopped bothering to tell him. He kissed me on the forehead like I was a child. I flinched. He didn't notice. Liam and I didn't talk for a few days. Until one afternoon, he texted me. "Are you okay?" 2 hours later, I was in his apartment. I told myself I needed closure. That it was just a conversation. But the moment I stepped inside and saw the way he looked at me, like I was something he wanted to protect and destroy all at once, I knew I was lying to myself. That was the first time we slept together. I remember every second. I remember the way he undressed me like he was memorizing me. The way he said my name like it hurt. The way I cried afterward, and he didn't say a word, just held me while I shattered quietly in his bed. I didn't take the ring off. Not then. In the weeks that followed, Liam became both a secret and a sanctuary. We didn't talk about what we were doing. We didn't make promises. We just kept colliding, in backseats, in hotel rooms, in the same kitchen where I used to cook dinner for James. Sometimes I'd look at myself in the mirror afterward and wonder who I'd become. A cheater. A liar. A woman too weak to leave, too selfish to stay loyal. But then I'd go home and James would barely look up from his laptop. He'd say, "You okay?" with the same tone he used to order takeout. And I'd think, no, I'm not. I told myself I was surviving. That this was what survival looked like. Passion in the dark. Love in stolen hours. But the truth is, it wasn't just sex. Liam started to feel like the only person who saw me. He remembered things James never bothered to. My favorite wine. The way I liked my back scratched when I couldn't sleep. The exact tone my voice hit when I was pretending to be okay. One night, after we had been tangled up in his sheets, he looked at me and said, "You're not just a fling, you know that, right?" I didn't answer. Because that was the moment I realized he wanted more. And I didn't know if I could give it. Because leaving James meant admitting I had wasted years. It meant blowing up our perfect image, breaking my parents' hearts, losing friends who thought we were couple goals. And worse, it meant maybe Liam would stop wanting me once I was actually free. Still, I started fantasizing. Not about the sex. About waking up next to someone who actually looked at me like I mattered. About cooking breakfast with music playing. About laughing without guilt. But fantasy is dangerous. Because the moment you believe in it, real life has a way of snapping the illusion. One night, I walked into Liam's place unannounced. I had a key. He gave it to me just in case. That night, I used it. And I wasn't ready for what I saw. He wasn't alone. She was laughing. I heard it before I saw her, a soft, flirtatious kind of laugh that pierced through the quiet of Liam's apartment like a blade. I froze in the hallway. My heart dropped before my hand even reached the doorknob. But I opened the door anyway. And there she was. Curled up on his couch, barefoot, wine glass in hand, wearing my hoodie. The one I had left behind 3 days earlier. Liam was sitting beside her, close, not touching, but close enough. His smile vanished when he saw me. Hers didn't. "Hey," he said, standing up too quickly. "I thought you were." "I used the key," I said flatly, eyes locked on her. She looked confused. Young. Pretty. Too comfortable. I didn't cry. Not there. Not in front of her. "I should go," I said, already turning toward the door. "Wait," Liam moved to follow, but I held up my hand. "Don't," I said. "Not now." I walked 3 blocks before I let myself fall apart. It wasn't the betrayal. I couldn't even call it that. Liam and I had never defined anything. We were built on secrets and silences. I had no right to expect loyalty from someone I was cheating with. But it was something deeper. Something that cracked the version of us I had created in my head. He was supposed to be different. He was supposed to choose me. And the worst part? I still wanted him. I didn't talk to him for 4 days. Not because I was trying to punish him, I just didn't know who I was anymore. James kept being James, oblivious, distracted, asking why I seemed off. I wanted to scream. But instead, I smiled. Nodded. Kissed his cheek like a wife should. The 5th night, Liam came to our house. I almost didn't answer the door. But curiosity is louder than pride. I sent her home, he said. She's no one. That's funny, I said, leaning against the doorframe. Because she was wearing my hoodie. His jaw tightened. It wasn't like that. Then what was it, Liam? He looked at me like he wanted to say everything and nothing all at once. I was lonely. Lonely? I laughed, bitter, broken. That's rich, coming from the guy I'd been sleeping with behind my husband's back. We stood there, drowning in silence. You told me I wasn't just a fling, I whispered. Was that a lie? No, he said. But you're married. You still wear the ring. I looked down at my hand. The ring was still there. Still his. Still mine. Still a lie. Maybe I wear it, I said quietly, because I don't know who I am without it. And that's when he said it. I love you, but I don't want to be your escape. I want to be your choice. That destroyed me. Because deep down, I knew he was right. I had used Liam like a lifeline. Like a fantasy. I wanted him to save me from the prison I was too scared to leave. And in doing that, I had made him feel like a backup plan. I closed the door that night. Not out of anger, but because I needed space. For the first time in months, I didn't text him. I didn't see him. I sat in my room, alone, and stared at that damn ring. 4 hours. I thought about all the times James had ignored me, all the nights I cried in silence, all the days I smiled in public and screamed inside. And I thought about Liam. His hands. His laugh. His voice when he whispered my name like it meant something. And I realized, I had been waiting my whole life for someone to choose me. But I never stopped to ask if I was choosing myself. So I made a decision. Not for James. Not for Liam. But for me. I packed a bag. Just one. I didn't leave a note. I walked out the door at 3 a.m. with nothing but silence behind me. And this time, I took the ring off. I thought walking away would be the hardest part, but it wasn't. It was the silence that followed. The kind that echoes even in a room full of sound. I checked into a short-term apartment downtown, small and sterile, with white walls and no memories. For the first time in years, no one was expecting me home. No one knew where I was. I should have felt free. Instead, I felt hollow. James called 17 times. I didn't answer a single one. He didn't know about Liam. Not really. Maybe he suspected. Maybe he didn't. But the thing about emotional distance is, when you finally leave, it's not a crash. It's a quiet fade, like a light that flickers out before anyone notices it was ever on. Liam didn't call. Not once. I waited. For 3 days. For 4. For 5. Nothing. I told myself it was better this way. That maybe we had both been broken people clinging to each other in the dark, not two halves of something real. But the truth is, I wanted him to fight for me. Just once. I started a new routine. Mornings with bitter coffee and sad playlists. Therapy twice a week. A journal I kept under my pillow. I wrote down every lie I had told myself. Every time I said I was fine. Every time I laughed when I wanted to scream. Every time I begged for crumbs and called it love. Weeks passed. Then, one night, I came home to find an envelope under my door. No return address. Inside was a photo of me and Liam, laughing on the porch of that cabin. Someone had taken it without us noticing. I don't even remember smiling that wide. And on the back, written in his handwriting, "I still choose you. But only if you choose you first." I cried for hours. Not because I wanted to run back to him, but because someone finally saw me, even when I didn't. Still, I didn't call him. Not yet. I started doing something wild, living. I went dancing by myself. Took a pottery class. Got drunk on cheap wine and laughed with strangers. For the first time in years, I didn't shrink myself to fit inside someone else's world. And slowly, I stopped needing to be chosen. Then, one morning, James showed up. I opened the door to find him standing there, hollow-eyed, holding a box. "You forgot these," he said. Inside were the photos from our wedding. A few letters I had written him during our first year together. My grandmother's necklace. And the ring. He didn't yell. Didn't cry. He just looked at me and said, "I should have seen you. I'm sorry." And for the first time, I believed he meant it. But it was too late. Because sometimes sorry comes after the damage is already done. After you've buried the version of yourself that used to need their love. We hugged. Not as lovers. Not even as friends. Just as two people who had survived each other. When he left, I felt lighter. I picked up the ring. Held it for a second. Then dropped it back in the box and closed the lid. A week later, I walked into a cafe and saw Liam. He was at a corner table, reading something. He looked older. Tired. But his eyes lit up when he saw me. I didn't rush to him. Didn't make a scene. I just walked over and sat down. Neither of us said anything for a moment. Then I whispered, "I chose me." And he smiled. Not the smile of someone who won. But of someone who understood what it cost me to finally get here. We didn't kiss. We didn't make promises. We just sat there, two broken people, maybe less broken now, breathing in a kind of silence that finally felt right. And for once, that was enough.